Before this video starts, I want to mention that there might be some spoilers for this game within the review. If you wish to not be spoiled, please stop watching the video, go play the game, then come back after you've played. If you don't care, then please feel free to continue. Thank you, and enjoy. Stray is the highly anticipated third-person cat adventure game developed by a small team south of France called BlueTwelve Studios. Set in a dystopian cyberpunk-themed city, you travel and explore this world through the eyes of our feline friend. You can interact with NPCs and the environment in ways you would expect a cat to do so, from being stealthy to being playful and annoying. You can fully experience what it's like to truly be a curious cat lost in this mysterious city. During your journey, you meet a robot companion by the name BlueTwelve, and after becoming friends, it's up to you two to find a way out of the city by solving puzzles and fighting off Zerks, these little blobs of terror, and uncovering the truth about what actually happened to humanity. Anyways, now that you're all caught up on what the game is about, let's get started with this review. Starting off with the pros of this game, the first thing that really hit for me was the environment and the soundtrack. Both of these work in harmony to really set the tone and just immerse you in a calm, soothing yet eerie atmosphere. From the lush, vibrant, overgrown greenery you see in the beginning to the dark, gritty but colorful city you find yourself in for most of the game. Depending on what you're doing in-game can also dictate what type of music is being played in the background. Chase scenes have fast-paced and exhilarating music, while stealthy moments are more slow and quiet that get mysterious and interesting as you progress. Overall, these two just work really well together and were too good not to mention. Next on the list ties in with the environment, and that would be the traversing. I love the amount of exploring we're able to get in this game just by jumping around on ledges, pipes, roofs, and other objects. When you're indoors, you have the options of jumping onto tables, couches, counters, and many other things that cats would normally jump on. This feature really gives you the perspective of how a cat can traverse both indoors and outdoors. While I wish there were more explorable areas, this is still a fun mechanic of the game that I spent hours messing around with just to see where I could get. Moving on, we have the quirks that make a cat, well, a cat. There are so many things you can do here that are passive, but still sell the fact that you're playing as a cat. You can play with toys, scratch rugs, doors, couches, drink water, nap, knock things over, and even get your head stuck in a bag. This one's funny because it actually inverts your controls and makes it difficult for you to walk around. Did I also mention you can hang out in a box? You can also interact with NPC characters by speaking with them, nuzzling up against their legs, and meowing at them for a reaction. Yes, you can actually meow whenever you want, and this can actually play to your advantage during some levels and interactions. The last two things I want to mention are going to be the story and the characters. Even though the story is simple, it still managed to keep me immersed, engaged, and curious about everything that's going on. I don't want to go too far into spoilers, but if you're looking for a good story-based adventure puzzle game, then this is definitely the game for you. It's not too long, and something you can complete in about half a day. As for the characters, they're simple, but they still have a good amount of personality to keep them interesting. It could be that they're robots and they're easier to model than normal human models, but the devs still managed to find a way to make them more expressive through the screens on their heads. The dialogue is another feature that makes these characters more engaging because it's very casual and translates well to the situation and setting we're in. Each character has a certain quirk to them, and you can tell based on what they're saying and how they look. Overall, these are all the positive things I was able to find about the game while playing. BlueTwelve has hit the mark on a relaxing, wholesome game, and I think everyone can say the same. Now this doesn't mean the game is 100% perfect, so that does mean it has its negatives, but thankfully it's not a lot, so let's talk about what they are. It was hard for me to find anything negative about the game, and if anything, these are just small complaints that I'm sure can be fixed with a few updates. Starting off, I decided to add two of these together since they're pretty much within the same category. This is going to be the clipping and choppy animations in certain scenes. The most notable would be from the very beginning of the game when you're jumping down from some pipes with your friends. There are also some other cases where our feline friend will clip through certain objects or NPCs, but if you don't spend too much time focusing on that, it's really not that big of a deal. Another time I feel the animation is rough is when you're jumping from one point to another. Instead of fully adjusting, there's times where our cat just cuts to where it needs to be to start the animation to make the jump. Again, this is a small complaint and it doesn't take away too much from the gameplay, I just thought it was something worth mentioning. Next up on the list, we have the camera angles. Now the camera in this game is pretty good, and I don't really have much to complain about it. The only thing I can really say is that it acts weird when you're in tight spots, or when you're trying to get a good shot of your cat. It's almost as if the center point is just above the cat rather than on the cat itself, so when you move it around, you get this weird upward angle when trying to look at your cat from a head-on perspective. For the sensitivity, if you're playing on PC, then I highly suggest turning this down to avoid making yourself dizzy when you flick your mouse a little too far or try to turn too quickly. Finishing up this list, this ties in with the in-game camera, and it's the fact that there's no first-person mode. This is probably a personal thing, but I think it would have been cool to truly get a full-on cat experience and actually view it through the eyes of a cat. There are some moments where you crawl under low surfaces, and I think it would be a good point to zoom into first person, similar to how they do in the Batman Arkham series. Now, of course, this would be something you can enable, as some people probably out there don't mind the game being fully in third person. Again, maybe there will be an update sometime in the future, but this is also something I don't mind being left alone if the devs choose to do so. With all of that being said, that's going to wrap up the cons I have about this game, and I hope you found some of it useful if you're still debating on getting the game or not. All in all, this game is definitely worth the experience, and I would suggest grabbing it whenever you get the chance. I got the game for around $23 as it was discounted at the time of pre-order, but normal price is sitting around $29.99 on Steam. You get around 4 to 5 hours of gameplay, but can easily turn it into 10 if you spend a lot of time exploring and searching for items and the memories that are included in the game. Of course, I would always suggest getting games when they're on sale, but I feel like $30 is pretty good for what you're going to get. It's one of those games you can put on after a long day of work and just sit back and relax to. Simple puzzles with a good story, great soundtrack, and beautiful visuals. There's not much more you can ask for in a game. Especially when games these days are focused heavily on battle royales, battle passes, and multiplayer, it's refreshing to get a single player story you can hop into and just pass some time. This game is already getting tons of positive feedback, so I'm super excited to see the future projects from BlueTwelve, and I hope they don't lose that touch that made this game as good as it is. This has been my review of the video game Stray, and I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.